story's been percolating for a minute. I was going to cover this when this story right here, which we'll get to very shortly, but I need to give a little preamble because, of course, it's one of my videos. Anyways, yeah, I've seen this one, and then it's like, okay, what the fuck is there to it, okay? Patrick Peterson is saying this, and I have a great respect for his athletic ability. He is still, at this point in his career, one of the best corners in the game, and he's done a great job for a long time, but then he opened his mouth and said something horrifically stupid, or perhaps just low information, so I can't really take that out on him. Hell of a cornerback, very bad public advocate, okay, because he's another one of these people who I just don't understand not getting the jab. It's like, okay, there's a multitude of reasons out there, but just take your pick and try to see it from the other side. I can understand and I can sympathize with your position that you think that, yeah, if everybody would just get the jab, there would be no more coof anymore. Even though that's just not really the case. Something else is gonna pop up, so it's like, okay, but yeah, I get it. You think that, and that's fine. You're a football player. Brain trauma comes with the territory. But then it starts to detail what the NFL is doing to create a class system, okay, within the league. And I'm not talking like great players or great teams. I'm talking about vaccinated and unvaccinated players. And the way that they're treating the unvaccinated players is basically akin to just slapping the yellow star on their chest. And don't worry, the reason why we're coming back to this story today is because it's popping off, because they're really just dropping the hammer at this point. Patrick Peterson, critical of unvaccinated players. They're living in a different world, man. Vikings defensive back Patrick Peterson received the COVID-19 vaccine. Oh, thank you for your service, sir. You're so brave. And questioned why some players won't get the shot to help their team. There's been a lot of talk around the NFL. Players who are uncertain about or don't intend to get the COVID-19 vaccine. Patrick Peterson isn't on the same page. Yeah, there's one kid from Buffalo who's like, I would rather retire than forced to get the jab. And I really appreciate that. We'll get to him shortly. Patrick Peterson, like I said, isn't on the same page. Minnesota Vikings cornerback addressed the topic on his podcast. Why does he have a podcast? Whatever. All Things Covered. Kind of clever, though. Clever name. I understand why you wanted to start a podcast then. Revealing he is vaccinated. You don't say. It's just like being a vegan or being a teacher or a nurse. You never have to ask somebody if they're vaccinated because they will tell you at least 3 or 4 times by the time you even get introductions out of the way with. Patrick Peterson says says getting vaccinated puts players in the best position to win. Why does it make you faster and jump higher? I didn't know that was one of the other side effects. All I know is that it's really effective to closing up cuts. Unfortunately, those open wounds tend to be in and around your heart. Anyways, if you're not vaccinated, you're just living in a different world, Peterson said. Why would you put yourself at a risk of going through that again? Oh no, Patrick, you don't know about things. Okay. Based on new NFL regulations. This is from 4 weeks ago. This is from a month ago. And this is what made me initially want to talk about this. Based on new NFL regulations, players who are vaccinated don't need daily testing or masks. Cool. Okay. That's good. A return to normalcy, right? They don't have any travel restrictions. Critically, they do not need to quarantine after exposure to the coronavirus. You can see why this stuff is changing, obviously, because more control, more gooder, if you're the NFL, I guess. I don't know. Players who aren't vaccinated still have mask requirements, travel restrictions, daily testing, and will generally face more hoops to jump through on a daily basis. You can see where the two-tiered system is being implemented. I personally found this horrifying. Absolutely horrifying. But it's my private business. They can do whatever they want. Fuck off. The question of how unvaccinated players might impact a team's season is a big one. They won't be able to travel in the same buses as their teammates. Oh my God. Even though most of the league is like, I don't know, what, 65, 70% black? They're literally doing a Rosa Parks situation and nobody even notices this. It's just preposterous. And could have their routes altered by testing and quarantine. But it's alright. If they have to walk to the stadium, they'll just make sure that they give them a nice burlap sack and some light aluminum chains to get there. Fuck is going on, dude? So it's like, okay, why'd you have those draconian procedures if 65% of the players have received at least one jab since the end of fucking June? Like, okay, obviously, what is it? You got to wait a week or 2 weeks between your jabs. I don't know. I don't intend on getting it. I've got people in my family who've gotten the jab, and that's cool. That's fine. Whatever. Why are you so concerned with this shit? Okay? Why do you have such strict policing standards if 2/3 of your player base has already gotten the jab? Other people have had it, so what's your artificial and natural immunity rate? Like what are we talking here? A report earlier this week indicated that the Steelers are the third team to have over 85% of their players fully vaccinated against COVID-19, and the word on Fridays that rates are around the league continue to tick upward. Yeah, because they're tired of being treated like, well, for lack of a better term, slaves and lesser imprisoned human beings. NFL's chief medical officer Alan Sills, I shouldn't know who that is. You shouldn't know who that is. But I guess he just seen that everybody knows the name Anthony Fauci, and he decided to hop on that bandwagon. Via Adam Schefter of ESPN, that 65% of the league's players have received at least one dose of the jab. Schefter notes that rate is in line with the country as a whole and a higher than vaccination rates of people who are between 18 and 39 years old. Yeah, imagine that when you put so many roadblocks in the way. It's amazing what you can get done. And I'm not saying that as an optimistic way, more people will get the jab if you start to make it harder on them. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that's their tactics that they're using, and they're being mighty effective at it. It sucks, but again, more private business. And then more stories started to drop. Okay, NFL tells players to get vaccinated or potentially lose game checks. Yep. How is this not forced vaccinations at this point? Okay, get the jab, or we're going to put you in this artificial quarantine, and then we're not going to pay you for it. Okay, that was the final straw at my job. That's why I ended up leaving my previous employer, because I was walking into work. I ended up inhaling more air than water, coughing a couple times, and the fucking spaz that I used to work with lost his shit, and I ended up getting sent home for 2 weeks and only had enough vacation days left in the year to cover about a week's pay. Another story for another time. The NFL is mandating the COVID vaccine, but it is the latest decision is further incentivizing it ahead of 2021 season. What are you incentivizing, huh? Compliance? Submission? Full completion of the 2020 NFL season amid the COVID-19 pandemic without a single missed game, regular season, or playoffs was one of the more impressive tasks the league has ever accomplished. Fuck off. And although a COVID-19 vaccine is available, and it was for a vast majority of the 2020 season, but whatever. Outbreaks of the disease among those unvaccinated. Really? What quantifies as an outbreak at this point? I've just been hearing it ad nauseum. You guys have as well for the past 18 months, but whatever, just throw it around all fucking willy-nilly, never define your rules, okay, whatever. And thus, the potential need to cancel and or reschedule games is still possible. Not when you have like 70% of your athletes already fully vaccinated. What are you scared about? What are you scared about? These people start, asking for rights? The NFL isn't toying with this concept and is continuing to heavily incentivize the vaccine with one of its latest decisions. Oh, it's so fucking stupid! NFL Network's Tom Pelissero reports that there is an outbreak among unvaccinated individuals. Oh, okay, cool. So what? We're taking our science advice from a fucking sideline reporter from the NFL Network? Cool. And a subsequent game is canceled and cannot be rescheduled. Preseason game? Is that what we're doing? The team experienced the outbreak will forfeit the matchup. The credited loss will then count towards the team eventual playoff seeding. Oh, so you're just devising a hypothetical situation, okay, where so many people on the team could not be available to the rest of the team, so you'd have to forego a game. Even though, if you remember this, okay, the Denver Broncos had to enter a game with a quarterback who hadn't even played the position since fucking high school, and they got it done. They didn't get beat too badly, but they were still able to field a team, even though 3 of their fucking quarterbacks got sidelined. I think they were all false positives, or one of them returned the next week. I'm fuzzy on the details, but it was the Denver Broncos, and it was 3 of their quarterbacks. But they got it done. So that was about the most strenuous situation. So they're just devising a situation that might happen. That team, per Pelissero, will also be held accountable for financial losses and potentially face discipline. Oh, so any of the revenue that would have been generated from the stadium's hosting of the game, like if it would have been the visiting team that would have ended up forfeiting that game, they would have to reimburse the host city, the host organization. Oh, the league isn't prepared to add a 19th regular season week to assist with the possible rescheduling of game, even though under tougher situations, they avoided all of this. Just when I think the NBA is the shittiest league on the face of the earth, the NFL outdoes them. They outdo them. And DeAndre Hopkins has kind of had enough. And then maybe not have had enough, okay? Because he put something out there, and it appears that he's, at least by what media would call him, at least what the lamestream legacy media would call him, as an anti-vaxxer. Because he doesn't want to be forced to do anything he doesn't want to do. He voiced his displeasure with that, okay? And then he deleted the tweet because he remembered that all of this shit is just for show. Okay, DeAndre Hopkins in a deleted tweet, NFL's vaccine policy making me question my future in the league. He was about ready to pull that ripcord. He was just absolutely done and fucking dusted. Okay, and here's another situation where I find myself, I really, really, really appreciate the talents of DeAndre Hopkins. He's an immensely talented receiver. He's kind of a shithead. Because I remember covering this as well when there was a big Trump caravan that was happening in Arizona, going from an impromptu Trump rally to the one speaking engagement he made during the campaign. And DeAndre Hopkins, after the Arizona Cardinals game that was there, hopped in his Lamborghini and he started zooming and weaving in and out of the caravan, which, in fairness, it could have been driving slow and it could have been an obstacle on the highway, but that's never been the instance in these caravan situations. And then he was flipping them off and he was just kind of being a general dick, and then he ended up denying that any of this happened, and then he had a bunch of different colorful explanations to cover it up. It's like, okay, fine, whatever. But like I said, intensely skilled individual, just somebody that we probably wouldn't have a hell of a lot in common other than our love for football. And apparently our love for freedom as well. But this is where we could part company. I would at least have the balls to keep up my statements on the situation. But this could be coming from upstairs, and he might have been forced to take this down. Cardinals wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins said in a since deleted tweet that the NFL's new policies regarding COVID-19 outbreaks and the vaccinations are making him question his future in the league, because he, like many other intelligent people out there, see this as a slippery slope. You start taking away people's paychecks for something that hypothetically could happen, maybe potentially, even though there's no track record of it happening. If they can do that for this situation, what else can they use to get away with, or use this situation to get away with? Interesting. The NFL released a memo Thursday detailing COVID-19 protocols for the 2021 season. The league noted teams will be subject to forfeits, yes, and pay discriminations and all that other kind of fun stuff. Never thought I would say this. Here's this tweet. But being put in a position to hurt my team because I don't want to partake in the vaccine is making me question my future in the NFL. Fair enough. Fair enough. We can parse this out as much as we want, but at the end of the day, he knows where his values are at, okay? He doesn't want to be told what to do. He's assessed the situation and realized that, you know what, it's probably not a big risk for me, so I'm going to decline to get the jab. But then at the same time, if me, like so many other people out there, end up getting popped for one of these daily tests, I'm going to be putting my team at a significant disadvantage, because there's two other players that are on his same level at wide receiver on a team that is going to be in a very competitive division and has a really good shot at making the playoffs this year. He doesn't want to have to be sitting on the sidelines for a couple of weeks. He doesn't want to be forfeiting some of his massive pay. And then he also doesn't want to be costing them costly wins, because the NFL is trying to de facto impose forced vaccinations. I understand where he's coming from. I just really wish he would have kept up the tweet. More than 78% of NFL players... See, I was underselling it, okay? I was just telling you, when they had that initial set of regulations that were out there, 2/3 of the league was already vaccinated. Like, what are we doing? 78% of players have received at least one dose. All 32 teams have at least 50% vaccination rate, while 14 teams have a vaccination rate of at least 85%. Vaccinated players who test positive can return to the field if they are asymptomatic, i.e. healthy, and record 2 negative tests 24 hours apart. A 10-day isolation is still required for players who are unvaccinated. So you could miss up to 2 games. It's so fucking stupid. Every team played a full 16-game schedule in 2020 despite the number of COVID-19 postponements. The 2021 season is slated to begin on September 19th as the Buccaneers host the Cowboys, and I will make sure that I will not be tuning in much like a bunch of people out there, because as more of these authoritarian and, well, frankly, idiotic policies, whether it be social justice activism, whether it be these ridiculous COVID-19 protocols, fans are tuning out in droves. The NBA, we know that the NBA Finals just recorded a massive drop in viewership, and you can explain that away for a whole host of reasons. None of them I would necessarily consider would hold any weight. But regardless, the numbers are the numbers. I think it's like 32% down from 2019 before they just bit into that black pill that's about 12 inches long and is a Marxist cover. And then the NHL facing a similar fate as well. And then the MLB, which goes without saying, they're completely fucking insane at this point. But the NFL, man, they're just running head and shoulders right into the shitter. And they're holding their mouth open and intending to dive right to the fucking bottom. I don't know what to say. I used to love me some NFL, but it's going to be a minute before I check back in. But with that said, guys, thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.